Hello everyone, welcome to the new session of Harvesting of Crop Part 3. So in this session we are going to study about waste disposal because during the harvesting there are many type of waste that are produced in our crop field. So that should be properly removed. So how to handle our waste, that we are going to study in this session, and waste produced during the harvest process, what different types of waste are produced, that also we are going to study in this particular session. Dealing with waste produced during harvesting. So how to deal with the different types of waste that are produced during the harvesting process, all these things we are going to cover up or discuss in this particular session. Handling waste. So often much of the harvest produce is lost, and this is because fresh produce tend to go into the steady decay almost immediately after the harvesting. So there are so many like harvest produce is lost, right? Many like much of the harvested produce is lost while harvesting is done, and that harvested produce will be like a waste. So this fresh produce tend to go into the steady decay. Now the harvested produce which is lost, or which is just it is in the field, right, and it is left there, so it start decay there and immediately after the harvesting. So although post harvest treatment will preserve the produce to some extent, there is always some extent of the post harvest wastage. Okay, so we are following some of the post harvest treatment to protect our post harvested crop. Okay, fruits or vegetable, whatever we have harvested from our orchard or our field, right? So there are many process that can preserve that particular fruit, but still some extent those post harvest wastage we see because of our negligence even, and the amount of waste that is generated should be minimized. So first thing what we can do, we can minimize the waste that is generated at the time of harvesting. To minimize such damage, care must be taken to ensure that fruit is not damaged in any way. All the fruits which you are harvesting is keeping in the bag or a bin or any type of crat, right, properly. So losses associated with the wastage extend beyond the physical loss at the produce itself, and such wastage leads to reduced income, and they contribute to the environmental pollution also. So it is not only reducing your income, it is contributing to environmental pollution as well. So this such type of wastage should be avoided. Okay, so the losses associated with the wastage extend beyond the physical loss the produce itself, so this should be taken care. Most fresh produce farm will however have an area set aside where the harvest waste is either stored and later used as an animal feed, or it is composted. So if there are some fresh produced farm, right, means it is asked to have, most of the fresh produce farms must have an area where all the harvest wastage, okay, after the harvesting there are a lot of wastage of there. The twigs is broken, sometime the leaves are there, the fruits which are got damaged, it is there on the on the orchard land or the field. So that should be collected and it should be placed in an area, it is stored there, and later it can be used as an animal feed, and if you are not having animal, then it can be used for compost. So such area must be distant from both the field and a processing area. So there are two areas, one in your field in which the fruits, vegetables, the crops that are grown. And another area, that is the processing area, in which you keep or you do the packing. Okay, all those things you are doing. So this particular area, the area which you keep your harvest wastage, it should be away from there, because any type of damage that is occurring in the waste can, if it is very near, then it can come to the place where you have kept your harvested fruits and vegetables that are in very good condition. Okay, so that should be avoided. It should be kept at a distance from these two areas, that is field as well as your processing areas. Waste in this scene is a plant residue left on the field after harvesting. And what are those? Okay, so waste in these sense is plant residue. These are waste means what type of waste? Plant residue. I told you that the plant that are like twigs are broken, sometimes branches are broken, sometimes leaves are there, sometimes fruits are also there, right? So that plant residue is left on the field after harvesting. Okay, so this stubble, cobs, and the leaves of the maize plant. So this is an example. This is an example of the maize plant. Sometimes cobs are there, sometimes stubbles are there, and sometimes leaves of the maize plants are there. The stem, leaves, and discarded fruit of tomatoes and other fruit crops. Sometimes the tomato fruit is not in a good condition or any type of disease is there. So that is discarded fruit. We should not throw it on the that field only. It should be plucked and should be kept at a proper distance from the field. And that is an area where you keep all the waste from the field, and later that can be used either to give it to the some animals, cattle, or it can be used for the compost preparation. The stem and the wrapper leaves of the cabbage crop. Sometimes the cabbage crops, the wrap, some leaves are the wrapping the whole. So when it comes out, that should be removed and it should be kept for as a discarded material. That is the plant residue, right? So these are the waste. I'm just giving, these are some of the example. And likewise, every crop is having some sort of waste produce. So that is handled in this way, that it should be kept away from the field, the processing unit, and that place, that compost place, or the place where you keep your plant residue, right, the left the waste one, it should be away from there. Waste produced during the harvest process. So, such materials are normally degradable and seldom cause environmental problems. Okay, they are generally not causing any type of environmental problems. And however, the crop disease and pest may be harbored in such material and should be therefore be allowed to completely decompose before the new crop is induced. Suppose this time in the field you are having any exposed disease or any type of pest, so what you can do, you can collect all the debris that is present on the cropland and you can burn that, because they may contain spores, they may contain pathogens, right? And if new crops you are growing, then can again cause a disease, or in the next season, right, the spores which are present in the soil or any plant debris may again come and infect the same plant, right? So it should be completely decomposed or it can be burnt even. Waste produced during the harvest process. After harvesting, various non-degrading or the slow degradable waste are generated. Many types of degradable, sometimes it is non-degradable waste and sometimes it is degradable waste. So what are those? These includes damaged plastic bags, because you collect the fruits, right, at the time of harvesting in plastic bags. Sometimes the plastic bags are torn, so you just throw there. So that is damaged plastic bags in which the produce were to be packed. Plastic bags which contain the packing material. So these are the non-degrading waste material. that are produced at the time of harvesting. Now, cardboard boxes in which packing materials were delivered, broken, damaged picking containers, unrepairable harvest tools and equipment. So, these are some of the waste that are produced at the time of harvesting. Dealing with waste produced during the harvesting. So, how to deal with that? Firstly, waste in this case does not necessarily have a negative connotations. The waste, or rather plant residue produced during the harvesting, are the plant parts such as leaves, stem, cobs, heads, etc., that do not contribute to the yield of the crop. Okay, so these are often left on the field after the harvest. Generally, the leaves, the stem, the cobs, the heads that are left in the field, right, as it is. The following process can be followed to deal with such waste. What to do? Animal feed. You can use those waste as an animal feed. Why to waste them? We can collect them and feed to our animals. So cattle, etc., can be allowed onto the field after harvesting and utilize the plant material in producing milk and meat. So we can bring those cattle, those animals, so that whatever the waste is there, like the leaves, the twigs, the cobs, okay, all that can be eaten by these animals and they can produce good amount of milk and meat with that. Mulch. The plant residue can be chopped into the smaller particles with a disc implement pulleyed by a tractor. Right? So the plant residue then act as a mulch to protect the soil against water and wind erosion. So mulching can be the residues, the plant debris which are present there, it can be chopped and it can placed over the soil so that it can protect the water which is present in the soil, as well as it can protect the soil from the wind erosion. So these things can be followed. We can feed our cattle, we can do the mulching process, right? Feeding our cattle, I think it's more appropriate, while mulching, because you again need one step of processing that, because you have to chop that. So if you are a cattle, the best way think that you can take that your animals or the cattle to the field and they can eat all the debris or the plant residues which are present there. Or either if you are having any machinery to chop that waste, then you can do the mulching also. The plant residue can be incorporated into the soil during the primary cultivation, and in this way replace some of the nutrients which were extracted out of the soil during the growth of the crop. Now this can also be done. This is again one of the method. Suppose you are having this field and you are growing some of the crop there. Now this crop will take all the nutrients which are present in the soil. Okay, now the debris which are present there after the harvesting this plant, that can be mixed with the soil. Okay, after the primary cultivation, that can be mixed with the soil. Okay, and that will decay there and will become the part of the soil. Okay, and whatever the nutrient, because this plant is having a particular type of nutrient extraction from the soil, and all that nutrient is present in the waste of this uh, agriculture produce, right? So this waste, when mixed with the soil, that particular nutrient will get replenished, and the residue of some crops like soya bean, peanut and wheat can be baled and removed from the field. So this is one can do. Dealing with the waste produced during the harvesting, this is again used to feed animals. So some of the materials like at the time of soya bean or the groundnut or the wheat, the waste that can be used to feed our animals. Maize residue can be put through a hammer mill to reduce the particle size. So because the particle size are quite larger, so that can reduce the maize residue can be uh, the particle size of it can be reduced by using the hammer mill. Okay, this chopped rest are stored in bags and can be used as is or mixed with the molasses etc. to feed to the animal. Now this is very important for feeding our cattles, our animals. Okay, this chopped rest means the chopped rest of the waste that we get from the maize plant, right? We can store it in the bag. We can store it in the bag and can be used as it is or mixed with molasses, because this mixture like molasses and this chopped rest is liked by the cattle very much, and we can feed them, and in this way they can produce the production of the milk. Okay. Now, where the disease are problematic or there is no other use for the rest, it can be burned to get rid of it in an easy and quick way. Now, this is one of the problematic waste that is produced at the time of harvesting. Suppose some of the plants are having any type of disease. Either it could be fungal disease or any bacterial disease or any type of pest that brings some infection to that, right? So that waste should be collected properly from the field, and it should be burned. It should be burned. Why? Because there like that type of waste may contain the pathogens, right? The pathogen that could be bacteria, fungi or any type of pest. So if it is get burned, then you get ensured that next season when you are growing that particular crop, same crop, okay, so that disease will not comes again. So in this way, like in the case of diseases, we can follow the burning of the waste material. The residue, especially if it is still green and moist, can be used in the making of compost, which can be used as an alternative to inorganic fertilizer. Now, this is very good option that whatever the waste that are green waste, right? The leaves, the fruits, the twigs that are still green and they are moist, they contain some water in it, that can be used for making of compost. You can make a pit in your a place where you are having some space. You can make a pit and put all these green leaves or any type of waste which is having the moisture in it, so that can be used for compost process. Okay, and which can be used as an alternative. So this when the compost process is completed, you will get some fertilizer, that is inorganic fertilizer, right? Degraded vegetables and fruit can also be used for making compost. So sometimes this vegetables and fruits are also get decomposed, so that can be collected from the field and it can be used for making the compost. Do not use diseased material for this. Okay, dealing with the waste produced during the harvesting, so do not use the diseased material for this. For the waste disposal, we should not use any type of diseased material. Discarded vegetables and fruits can be used as a animal feed. So whatever the fruits or the vegetable that are discarded, right, that can be used as an animal feed. Diseased material should be discarded off in a safe way by burning or burying it in a pit. So what we can do, if the material is diseased, either we can make a pit and bury them, or we can discard it by burning them in a pit. It should not be done in a very open, right? It should be done in a pit and far away from the crop field. Very, very important. This burning or burying it in a pit is done far away from the crop field. It should not be done near to the crop field. Any open area, you can take all those waste, right? And you can either bury them or burn them there. Most of the plant residue can therefore be used successfully in other farming enterprises, contributing to the overall success of the farm. So, in this way, most of the plant residue, okay, all these residue can therefore be used successfully in other farming enterprises, contributing to the overall success. So, all these things should be followed. Okay, so then only you can have the overall success of the farm. The non-degradable waste require extra care. Degradable waste, you can put it in the farmland, you can put it in the pit for the compost, you can, if it is a disease material, you can burn them. So there are many options. But what about the non-degradable waste? How to take care of them? A few examples of process that can be followed to deal with such waste and that are provided below. What are those? First one, recycling of the plastic, cardboard and glasses. Suppose these are some of the waste that are produced at the your field at the harvesting time. Plastic, any type of cardboard or glass, right, that can be recycled. If any like use of these plastic, you can use that. Any type of reuse of the cardboard, you can do that, right? Glasses can be placed anywhere, so that can also be recycled. So if recycling is not an option, discard waste in a safe way. Okay, if it is not recycled in any way, then it should be discarded. It should not be thrown here and there in the open. It should be discarded in a safe way, away from animals and where the children play, ideally making use of purpose built waste disposal area, right? So where your animals or your cattle are there, your disposable, right, disposable area should not be there. Or where your children are playing, suppose there is a playground where the children used to play, so your disposal area should not be there, because it can cause many type of diseases to those children. A few examples of process that can be followed to deal with such waste provided below. Discard of the waste by putting it in a pit and cover it with the soil as soon as the pit is full. Okay, so we can make a pit for such type of like discardation. We can use waste in a pit and we can cover it with the soil. Keep record where such a pit was dug to prevent later problems when the pit is opened out by an accident. So we must have a record that here we have made such a pit where the non-degradable waste has been put, right? So when it is open, it cannot spread any type of diseases or any type of accident, right? So okay, some of the waste can be used in an alternative ways. Cardboard boxes can, for example. So these are some of the waste that can have a alternative ways of using. How to do that? Plant residue can be accommodated in the different safe and useful way on the farm. So we can use these plant residue. We can keep that residue in that. It remains advisable that the waste management plan includes the process for dealing with such waste. So this is the waste management plan and record holding. All harvesting personnel must know the areas for composting or dealing with the biological material. Keeping records of waste management remains important, as it provide an account of the type of waste being produced and what it can be used for. So this is very very important. What type of waste management we are using, and where what type of waste has been put for the pit, or any type of like waste has been discarded either for the burning, or it can be it has been used for the compost. Okay, all those record must be there for the waste management, especially where the plant residue is used as an animal feed. So this is very very important for the waste management, where you are using the plant residue for the animal feed, and this helps for planning fodder flow of an enterprise. The same principle can be applied for the compost also. So, knowing the type of residue that may be available and when it could become available, make scheduling to the composting and compost use possible. So, suppose you have made three compost, right? This is 6 month old, this is 5 month old, and this is 2 month old. So if you are not having such an data that which compost is when it is started, and when it is, and how much month it is old, right? So if you by mistake open this one, 2 month old, you will not get the proper like compost from there. Okay, this 6 month old will give you the proper compost. So such type of idea and such type of scheduling of the composting should be noted down. Keeping records of recyclable material allows one to determine the extent of waste that is produced. So, what are the recyclable material that has been produced, and how we have used that for the waste disposal? So that should also be noted. And this in turn adds the planning for the numbers of waste bin that can be required per waste. According to that, we can make a type of waste bin. And accordingly, we can keep all those waste segregated. And disposal or the removal of such waste will become quite easy. With this, we have completed this session. Thank you very much.